What is up? Welcome to the Hypothetical Comedy Podcast. I am Funky Sam Medina,
And I am Athena Rodriguez.
and we're here with comedian Ham Clancy. What's
Woo.
up, Ham?
Hey, well, we were just talking about how, wrapping up my time here in Nebraska, thank God. So feeling pretty good about that. About to ditch town and get out of here and go back east. So
Hell yeah.
another hour in the time gap between us, but class.
When are you guys moving?
In like 2.5 weeks. So
Nice.
I gave my notice to work last night and I didn't cry, if that's what you heard. That's a lie. That didn't happen. So forget what you heard.
All right. I forgot everything I've heard.
Perfect.
Wait, who are you again? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, my name's Ham and I live in Nebraska.
Hey, Ham. So, real quick, we talked about this a little bit off the air, but how did you get the name Ham?
Brian actually did this, and it's for a very funny reason. So I am married to another comic, much like you two. I broke the number one rule of don't fuck a comic, and here we are. So I am also married to a comic, and he had been he was already a touring headliner by the time I did my first open mic, so I actually saw him and I was like, he's so funny. And I wanted to book him to do, my little peon shows that I was doing in New York at the time. And when we linked up, became homies, we're doing the road together, etc. He was the headliner, right? But his name is Brian Barganier. And for some reason, even though these places were paying him real American dollars to do comedy, they would always, and I mean, always fuck his name up to the point where it was comical. One time we did a show and he was Brian Barbados. Wow, not even close. And so we would just laugh about that because my real name is just Kate Clancy. I've always been a one namer. People will call me Kate Clancy because everyone knows a Kate, a Katie, a Katie, whatever with a D, every variation, a Kathy, a cat, whatever. But Kate Clancy is easy enough to just say in one shot. You never botch the pronunciation, you never botch the spelling. So he would edit our flyers so that my name was always fucked up. So it would be Dan Fancy and Clam Hansy and whatever. And then one time he just kept Clancy, but he just changed my name to Ham and everyone was like, why does that work so well? I actually really like this one. And so this Goldilocks, after 4 weeks of living together in Connecticut. I moved from New York to Connecticut to be with him after we were long distance for a while.
Oh.
And then he had a couple tour dates in Florida that he had to fly down for. And while he was down there, he just got a ham that I had doodled tattooed on his arm. So very bold for such a fresh relation, but it worked out in the end. So that kind of sealed my fate. And that was about 5.5 years ago. So I've just been ham like the lunch meat ever since.
That's incredible. I had no idea that you had a ham tattooed on him.
He sure does. It's right under the abortion falcon. He has a whole sleeve of just his doodles that are based on his jokes. And then the abortion falcon is and it's he didn't mean for it to look like this, but I am tickled by the fact that it looks like the abortion falcon's dropping off a nice holiday ham.
Like a consolation prize.
Yeah. It sort of filled a void. This ham is about the same amount.
Well, I guess in his defense, he could have easily got to change it to a poop or a baby or something.
Very true. Yeah, if anything went south, he could just put it in some swaddling clothes, I guess.
There you go. Perfect. Hell yeah. So are you from New York?
I am from New York, born and raised, but let's all reel it in a little bit. I sound like a normal person because I am from upstate hoity-toity New York. I'm not I'm walking in, I'm not that kind of New Yorker. So yeah, I'd like to refer to people from upstate New York, where I'm from, and people from Nebraska, the Dakotas, etc., as one people, and that's Cornadian. That is our lineage. We are polite. We kind of have a bit of a Canadian draw, and we just are surrounded by corn. So we are the Cornadian folk of the Americas, as it were.
Corn is pretty tasty. I mean, if you're gonna compare it to, a food, corn is. Never mind.
And a very good band. And a very good band.
Corn, yeah. Yeah. I just, I'm big on following the leader. I don't know. It really helps in a corn maze, I think they were on to something. I would be the freak on the leash who would get lost in the corn. So,
Hell
I
yeah.
guess that all makes sense. Their whole discography is actually making a lot of sense to me right now.
Good. It's made sense to me for a long time.
My older brother would have to agree with you. He's like going to be 40 in December. I am going to be 35 in like a minute and a half, basically, like in a couple weeks. But he was definitely like old enough to be like really in the thick of it when like Korn and Limp Bizkit and all that new metal was coming around. So he definitely donned the red Yankees hat a la Fred Durst. And like he went on a Catholic mission with my church to St. Louis and spent the entire time just hooking up with girls and having them sign his Fred Durst like little red Yankees hat. And then like a true G, he like hung it on his bedpost at home and then like got a fresh one. And I'm like, you're you're canceled.
He's so cool.
Like, hey, probably the coolest kid on the mission trip. I don't know. I didn't go.
Well, I did actually have a red Yankees hat as well. I bought it at the New Jersey airport.
Oh,
But nobody
nice.
signed it. Nobody signed it.
Well, it's never too late to just start. You could just like be like, hey, this is a petition to like make Limp Biscuit limp again or something, just like some kind of, hey, we want to take back red hats from the MAGA movement. Like like, can you sign my hat in an effort to like make red hats Limp Biscuit again?
Hell yeah, I'm down for
No,
that.
take back our power, one fashion accessory at a time.
So, what was it like for you growing up in New York?
Ooh, spicy. It was interesting. I actually went to a school that was really small. It started like when I went K through 12 there. In kindergarten, my graduating class would have been about 60, but by the time I graduated, it was about 130. So it did
Wow.
double, but it's still small. But it's one of those towns that's directly next to an actually very famous place called Saratoga Springs. The Travers Stakes are there, which is it's a famous horse racing track, Saratoga Race Course, and the Travers is like the baby horses who go on to run the Triple Crown. So the baby horses, I mean, like all the big horses also come and race, and people bet, and whatever, capitalism reigns supreme. But it's known for the Travers Stakes, so it's a very hoity-toity, very wealthy city. And then my town was the next town over, where like all of the agriculture was cultivated to support that. Because like obviously it takes I mean, there's a horse called War Dancer right now that has a residency in Saratoga. That is, the horse lives in a mansion. Like you drive past the mansion, you're like,
Wow.
whose house is that? And you're like, that's War Dancer's house. And then you notice there's actually a big stable door entering into this mansion. I mean, these horses are worth millions and millions of dollars. They have these huge stables. They need all this land to graze on and run on, etc. And the poor folk in my town are the ones who got to, do the fun stuff, shovel the poo and, mow the lawn, whatever. I don't know. I didn't work in the biz, but yeah, that's New York for you. It is the deep south of the far north, is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy though that they have horses that have their own mansions.
Yeah, it's
I've
like you
never
can
heard of anything
definitely
like
look
that.
up War Dancer's house. It's probably very Googleable. It's huge. It's pretty nuts. But like Seabiscuit is from Saratoga. Like a lot of like the big ones that you hear about, that's actually where they're from, and that's like what that movie is based on and all that jazz. I never saw it. I just know that, and I'm like, I live it. I'm not paying for a movie ticket. This is my life.
I can't imagine like saying that you like work for a horse, like a literal horse. Like, how do you like say, hey, there's a discrepancy on my paycheck? It's like,
Right?
Like War Dancer didn't give me enough hay this week.
Right? And then he just kicks you in the head. You're
Right.
like, well, I deserve that. You're right.
What was I talking about?
Right? Your benefits are just like a few apples. There you go. That's what I like.
So, at one point, did you discover and fall in love with stand-up comedy?
Well, speaking of Saratoga, I started working at this place. So let me backtrack by saying I end up doing a lot, like I charisma my way into a lot of things that I don't really deserve in life. And teaching paint and sip is definitely one of them. This new paint and sip studio opened in Saratoga, and I went, and the teacher who was teaching, she was very timid and kind of like was losing control of like the rowdy crowd, and me just being Captain Charisma, I'm just like gassing her up and I'm like, get it, shorty. I'm like, you're crushing it. And I was like, how'd you do that tree again? You know, trying to like help. And like, cause I know I can paint. My mom's a painter, and I'm like, just kind of, I'm liking what I'm painting. So I know I can sort of, I don't know, like kind of get the vibe right. Cause I felt bad for her. Cause you're standing on a stage in front of 50 people who are drinking and painting and whatever. And there's lights and you're holding a microphone and you have to be engaging. It's a lot. And, this girl ends up being my coworker. She's a sweet pea, but she's timid. She ended up getting kind of moved to like the Sunday morning crowd. Because when I went there, the owner was like, hey, do you want to work here? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, okay, show me your portfolio. And I was like, don't have one of those. I was like, I don't know. Trust me, here's my painting. And so, she hired me right away, which was crazy. And I started teaching paint and sip like 5 nights a week. And I'm on this stage, the lights and the mic, and I'm painting, and I crack jokes the whole time because that's just who I am. My senior superlative in high school was most likely to appear on Saturday Night Live. I've always just kind of been like, you know, this like loud, crazy, you know, class clown type, but also turbo nerd with straight A's. So like life's about balance. And with the two combined, like being, you know, being kind of like a pretty smart kid, I guess, like pretty crafty kid, and then really charismatic kid, sort of like landed me in these spots. So then there's this woman who you can look up. She's great. She's actually, you can see her on Netflix right now on Amy Schumer's Showcase, but her name is Jay McBride. And she was the first trans comic I'd ever heard. So to hear a trans voice in comedy is awesome because they make jokes that like, you know, you just never heard before. And it's awesome. It's this like untapped gold mine. And so she and I started doing, well, she was doing art at Trader Joe's, and I got hired over there because I was teaching at the studio, and I charismaed my way into the manager offering me a job doing art over there. So I was like, okay, cool. So I meet Jay, and she's like, I'm leaving because I am really like making it in stand up, and I'm leaving my art job at Trader Joe's, but like, you are funny and you teach and stuff. You should do stand up. And I'm like, like, let's, you know, I always wanted to, but I don't know, you know, whatever. So I tell my boss this at the studio. I'm like, yeah, Jay McBride. I'm like, she's going to be at Comedy Works, like, you know, right up the street from the studio. I'm going to go see her. And I did, and I loved it. And so then Catherine, my boss at the studio, she scheduled me for a shift that didn't exist. I show up to the studio and she's like, ooh, no, it's open mic night at Comedy Works. I just wanted you to keep the night open. You should go over and do it. And so
Oh,
I did. I was
wow.
like, okay, I'm here and I might as well. And so I went over there and I did it. And accidentally from there got asked to start hosting at the club. So then everybody hated me immediately because I just showed up. I just did what I do. And then the club owner was like, do you want to host? And I'm like, sure. And then I had to Google what that meant and how to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to say their name and shake their hand. Like I was probably terrible at it, but like I had my little jokey jokes. I had my 10 minutes. And so I just accidentally kind of started working a lot in my first year of comedy. And that was that. And that's how I got into Funny Bone. And that's how I like just kind of started working that circuit and producing my own shows in that art studio. It was called Laugh and Sip. We did it every Monday, Tuesday when the studio was closed. It sat 50 people. We sold it out both nights. And that's that. The rest is history.
That's
Wow.
freaking wonderful.
That is incredible.
I love that story.
But
That's
definitely
so cool.
check out Jay McBride. She is
Hell
hysterical.
yeah.
She even got to open for Louis on his like comeback at Madison Square Garden. So he's like,
Wow.
you know, he knows he has a lot of apologizing to do. And what better way than to give women opportunities in comedy, especially trans women. So
Yeah.
she got to freaking perform at Madison Square Garden for an entire weekend in front of like tens of thousands of people. That's like
That's amazing.
so amazing. She is so funny.
That's like
Definitely check her
beyond
out.
a dream come true right there.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's like a dream come true and like so much more.
She's such a baddie, seriously, and she's so fucking funny. And I could shamelessly repeat so many of her jokes to you right now. I love her whole body of work. It's fantastic.
So you have a very unique style because I feel like, I mean, maybe you know, you're just good enough to pull the wool over my eyes, but I feel like you can go out there and just like talk about your day and it's hilarious. Like, how did you come up with your writing style?
Thank you for that. Honestly, when I just go off about something, like when something gets me kind of jazzed, I never realized it, but people would just tell me that I have a way of like phrasing things that just makes them laugh. And I'm like, well, I didn't really think about it too much. It's just the way, like, for instance, okay, perfect example. I'm at work the other day. I work at Laszlo's Haymarket. Shout out Laszlo's Haymarket, a casual dining establishment in the Midwest. Great place to work. But we had the nozzles for our tea, like our tea urns where we brew our tea in a pitcher. We were soaking them overnight. And somebody went to go grab the water pitcher to go like swing water to the dining room. They almost grabbed that pitcher. And I was like, whoa, nozzle talk. Like, like, it's just like little dumb things like that. And so, eventually I just started, every time somebody would laugh, I'm like, well, they laughed at that. And I would just text it to myself or like I have like a notepad in my phone, and I would just like write those little silly things down. And then when I would go back and think about my day, I would just like remember those lines because I sent them to myself. So it's literally just the way that I say stuff, but I just send it to myself so I remember it. And then of course, punch it up, polish it, trim it, and kind of shoehorn it into my existing body of material. And it just has kind of gone from there. But that's sort of always how I've written a joke. Like I'm not a one-liner or anything. I am just I'm going to tell you a story, but I'm going to pepper in a bunch of like silly turns of phrase and punchlines, etc., and try to paint this picture for you as, as ridiculous as I perceived it in the moment. I sort of just can only talk about real stuff that happened. I don't like invent anything. I embellish, we all do, but I don't invent anything like from thin air.
Yeah, I feel like I don't either. I kind of write my own experiences and like things I say too. But yeah, I really like your style. You're really funny.
Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
agree.
Hell yeah. So when did you start painting or art? I guess in general.
Honestly, when I got hired, sort of. Okay, let's take it back to my very poor upbringing. Abridged version, single mom, never met dad. Had a great childhood though, awesome artsy mom. And so my like playroom was actually called the art room. It was just a room that had an antique armoire in it that was filled with art supplies. And my mom would buy me, like, for instance, I had a lot of like Barbies and Barbie Dream House, but I would go in and I would like change them. I would sew little outfits. I would make little sheets for things. I would paint on the hard plastic of the house to like change it to what I wanted it to be and like change the interior design, etc. So I'd always been a very artsy person and I always loved like art class in school, etc. But I didn't actually start painting until I started teaching people how to paint, which is lunacy, but it's just something I'm kind of hardwired to do, I guess. Like my mom is a great painter. She always did it as kind of just like her, like just passion project, her hobby. She also loved doing macrame and stuff like that. She's a real hippie. So I just kind of followed in her footsteps in that regard. And yeah, then all of a sudden I find myself teaching. And the more I taught, the more I actually like kind of taught myself. Because I would look at the example painting I had to teach before a class and be like, oh, I wonder how I would do that. And then how I would explain that to somebody. And sometimes I would take like a sticky note at my very shitty, serious day job that I was mailing it in at. And I would sit there and I'd doodle the shape in like very rudimentary shapes to kind of be like, okay, if I knew nothing about how to paint this lighthouse or whatever, how would I break it down? And so I just kind of like learned how to break it down into little rectangles, squares, triangles, circles, whatever, and then how to sort of like very gently outline that into the proper shape. So that's sort of how I learned how to do it. And over time, I've gotten a lot better at it to the point where like now I can paint portraits and stuff. It just sort of like evolved from there. But I didn't know anything about it. It's the same with like, I do really bold makeup looks, but I never thought about doing makeup until a couple years ago when somebody said to me like, hey, you could definitely do makeup. It's just a 3D canvas and that canvas is your face. And I'm like, that's smart. I never thought about that. And then like that day I did an eye beat and I was like, oh, I don't see it. Like I thought I didn't know how to do anything. I don't know. So I just like, if somebody just like tells me, hey, you can do this, it's easy probably. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, but you're probably right. Let's try it.
Oh, I like that outlook. I think it helps you take on challenges a little bit more fluidly, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does.
Someone else's like vote of confidence being like, hey, you should or you could do this makes me feel like, yeah, like not only do I hear you, but now I kind of don't want to let you down. I want to be like, okay, like I'll try it. And if I stink at it, we'll both laugh. Like it'll be funny. But if I don't, then I feel like like it's validating for that person. Like they saw something that I didn't see. And then I just always and forever give credit back to that person. Like Catherine, who owns the Paint and Sip in Saratoga, I always say like she changed my whole life. Like when she hired me, I was 100 pounds heavier. I did not have the confidence I have now. I was a confident person, but not like as outgoing as I am now. And her like putting me up in front of those people and them taking so well to me and being so like enthusiastic to come back to my class. And like, it just made me feel like, you know what? I can do stand up. And then I did. And then they took to me well there. And I was like, you know what? I can do this, that, and the third because like I just have this confidence. So when I lost, this is actually very funny. When I first started doing stand up, I immediately got into roast battling because we actually had a team in Albany, New York, like in the scene that I started in, that would battle other teams in other regions of New York, like
Oh, that's cool.
who's the best. And so I had just started and I'm like, I want to be good at this. So here I am, 100 pounds heavier than I am now. So I was about like, like 240, not big, but like, definitely bigger than I am now. And of course, the easiest thing it was mostly men, as comedy is, so it was mostly men I was going against. And the easiest jokes for them was like to just make jokes about my weight. And then when I would go for their soul, then like I would crush them because like, like people weren't willing to be like, because I was, I was bigger, but I wasn't like, I don't think that's a punchline, like, I think that everyone's fine and valid in whatever body they're in. Who gives a shit? Like, I want to hear about like your third divorce, bro, like, or whatever. Like, I want to come for your throat right now. So then I was like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I make the team and then like through the qualifiers, like beat everybody, make the team. And then when we battle that other team, I'm skinny and all their jokes like failed really miserably. So I lost 100 pounds in 10 months because I was like, I can do that.
Wow.
So yeah, so I lost 100 pounds in 10 months by doing keto and fasting. And then when I show up and these guys only have bad jokes against a girl who at the time, like it wasn't the full 10 months when that battle was, it was like 6 months later. So I had already lost like about like 65, 70 pounds. So here I am at like maybe like a size 8 and they're like, you're fat. And like the audience is like, boo. And so, needless to say, I did quite well.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that you lost weight just to fuck with people's minds.
I thought it'd be funny. I was like, hey, just write better. Like next time.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, there's 1,000 things to go after me for. Trust me. There's so much. I'm like, but.
Right. Low hanging fruit. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Work a little harder.
Fruit. Well, I actually was thinking about joining roast battles recently, but I'm kind of on the fence about it because I don't know if I'll be good at it and I might get my feelings hurt. They might call me fat,
I feel like when roast battling, like, of course, people are going to say stuff and you're like, yikes, like you got me there. But like Brian, my husband, when he was roast battling, he was doing like when I was doing these silly little ones upstate, he was doing the big ones in New York City, like roast masters with like, like Rich Voss and like Sal Vulcano and like, all those guys judging it. And, that's a lot of pressure because you're like at like the stand and it's, it's Gas Digital and it's like this iconic thing. And so actually when we were just friends, he had come to me for some help on writing these roast jokes against people. So I was watching my jokes that he was using, like do really well in these. And I'm like, I think I could hold my own. And his defense mechanism, though, was like when people would hit him with a really good one, like I'll give you a few that like made him laugh, like because he was also 100 pounds heavier. He's also lost a ton of weight since being with me, but when he was at his fighting weight, people would hit him with lines like, Rage Against the Vending Machine or like Bob Ross with a happy little thyroid problem, like, all this stuff. And he would laugh like, cause he was just like, it's funny. So like when they would hit him with a, like one that was really good and poignant and like cut him deep, he laughs it up really hard. And then he just says, our number one method of winning roast battles, because we actually, as a tag team, we're the reigning tag team champs in his home state of Connecticut. Our thing is we say thank you, and then we hit them with a line, like a mean name back, like thank you, blah blah blah, and like it can be anything. It can be like to steal one from like Archer, for instance, like an iconic one when Archer calls Pam Snacky Onassis, like that would be a good, like one of those little funny like nick. So it'd be like thank you, blah blah blah, and then hit them with the joke. So like you get to burn them when you thank them for burning you, and then double down with a good roast joke. So if you're looking for advice on how to slaughter someone, that is pretty effective.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty effective. I never thought you'd be the one to go to for slaughtering advice.
Well, I am ham. I am a pork-based product, so I do know a lot of the slaughterhouses and,
It's true. That's true. So you said that you met Brian and then you moved to Connecticut to be with him. What
Mhm.
was that like for you going from New York to
Yeah.
Connecticut?
Well, it's funny. I've been talking about this a lot lately because I'm sad to be leaving where I'm at 'cause I haven't been here that long. But when I left New York, I actually didn't feel like sad at all because I had been long distance with him for a long time at that point. So I'd already been really used to making that long, trek there and back. And so I knew I'd be around, I'm like, and also these are my lifelong friends and family. I'm like, you're not going anywhere. You wish you could. like you wish you could get rid of me that easily. But it ain't happening. But when I left Connecticut to move to Nebraska, it was hard because I had made some really good friends in the, about 2.5-ish years we lived there. But I was afraid that that wasn't enough time to forge those friendships, like in a solid enough manner that that they wouldn't fall to the wayside when I moved away or that they wouldn't like forget about me. But thanks to Zoom and things like that, it honestly, that never came true. Like all my friends that I made in Connecticut have still been there and I still see them, like y'all know a lot of them, Eric Pumpkins, Dave Sheehan, etc. They just still come and hang out on Zoom and like, I'll see him again soon. I'm moving, to the Pittsburgh area in a couple of weeks. And then I get to drive just a few hours to Connecticut for, my best friend's wedding in October and I'll see them all again. So it wasn't that hard to leave New York, but I think every time I make big moves in life thereafter, it gets harder because I do have that fear that the relationships that I've poured into in the time that I'm there might fall to the wayside. But I just think the world's a little different now. I think that we all have this connectivity now that we didn't have before. So it softens the blow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So when you got to Connecticut, is that when you were you inspired to do Paint the Town Rad from your paint and sip?
Yeah, so I had taught at Catherine's studio for about 5 years before I moved. And I'd been doing comedy and stuff, for that time. And then when I moved to Connecticut, I started working at one right down the street from where Brian and I lived, and it was run horribly by a mother-daughter combo that like really didn't know what they were doing. Catherine really cracked the code. She had a liquor license, we had a bar, etc. This other
Wow.
studio was like BYOB. So like there's your margins. Like that's where you make your profit is off your booze.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
restaurant. Like you want your booze to carry because like on food you lose money sometimes and you make peace with that. So that it doesn't go totally to waste. You do specials, etc. to like just kind of move the product even at a loss. But liquor is always, it's evergreen. It's always going to be, 100% profit basically after the first like two drinks you pour. You pour like two drinks that pays for the bottle and then everything else thereafter is just money in the bank. So they weren't doing that. And then when COVID set in, which was just very shortly after I'd started working there, I was like, you know what? I know all the things they're doing incorrectly. I've known it all along. They had to shut their studio down immediately when COVID hit. They didn't have enough money to survive even like a week without classes happening. And so I said to myself, like, I could do it if only I had, like the startup costs to get it running. So what I did was I earned a bonus at work. It was small. It was 1,000, and after taxes, it was like 700. And in a state as expensive as Connecticut, that's not even like half your rent, right? But I took that $700 and I turned it into Paint the Town Red. I bought just the base level of supplies that I needed and I was doing online stuff. I was like donating kits to essential workers and people who had lost their jobs who just needed like a pick me up. Because I had that little extra money and I was like, I know I can make this work, but I also, it's not really about making money. I just really love what I do and I'm sad I can't do it anymore. So I really was not money motivated, but a country club, like when the world started to slightly reopen and we could do outside stuff, this country club in Connecticut had a paint and sip that bailed on them. They had it already paid, like all their members had paid the fee, and it was like 50, I think it was 51 people had paid, and they were going to take the class. Now, here's the thing. In studio, it's like $35 a head, and when you do travel events, it's like $40 a head, typically. That's like the industry standard. But this country club, they have no concept of money. And these people had already agreed to pay $45 for the event. And they were providing a lot of the stuff already because like the tables, chairs, everything. I didn't have to like buy all that stuff. They already had it. So when they contacted me and they're like, can you do an event? Because like they knew about my Zoom classes. And they're like, could you do an event in person outside for these people? They already paid and these people bailed on us. And after I did the math, I'm like, that is a $1,200 profit after I've paid for all the materials, etc. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think I could do it. I mean, I guess, whatever. So I was visiting my mom in New York when they contacted me, and the event was in 3 days. And so I hit every Michael's on the way from New York back to Connecticut to buy enough easels that, like, the little, like, collapsible easels that I was using, because each store only carries a certain amount. And I didn't have time to order them online. But I'm a big fake it till you make it gal, like everything else. I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I bought like the brushes and easels at every Michael's on my way. I had just enough to do the event. I show up, I do it, I profit $1,200, and then I turn around and I buy tents, tables, benches, etc. And we just took it big from there. And we got consistent bookings at that country club. So that payday kept coming and coming and coming. And that's how I was able to turn it into a huge charity initiative and do a lot for my community after, because the money was good and I didn't need it. I just wanted to feel good. So I was able to do like a lot for my community. So that's kind of what it turned into.
Wow.
That is rad.
That is really rad.
Thanks.
I
Well,
also
in
love that you
Nebraska,
did
they're
it for
like,
children.
what's that?
I think that you also made like kits for children too to be able to
Yeah.
participate. And I thought that was really rad too, because some kids aren't the athletic type and they want
Yeah.
something
Myself
that they can
included.
like bond with. So that was cool.
Definitely. Yeah, we did in when we moved into our lake house, which was for 1 year before we moved here, we had the best landlord in the world, and we had this like huge backyard that had like this big deck, and on the deck there was a hot tub that I was able to like put this like cool sparkly tablecloth on top of, and put like a little snack bar on, and like the deck had like seating and stuff, and then I put a ton of tents and tables, benches, lights, etc., all in the tents. And I actually did birthday parties for children at no cost. They were children who, like, and that's what like gets me, like, please don't make me cry. I'm glad this is audio only, but like, that was a big motivator. I grew up super poor, and I know that that was like, tough. Like birthday parties are expensive, and they just keep
Yeah.
getting worse with like Instagram and, parents feeling like they're not enough because parents are doing these crazy elaborate things for each and every, you know, time a kid sneezes. They're like, well, she sneezed, so we're gonna throw a themed party, like whatever. And it's like whatever. It's just it's just so over the top. So I just wanted to do something for kids that, would feel left out by that. And so that's a big way that we spent a lot of that money, was doing free birthday parties for children. And we also auctioned off all the examples. I have to paint an example and then paint along. So then I end up with duplicates of every painting. So then we raffled off all of the duplicates in an online auction, and fulfilled, this is where I get like weepy, but like we fulfilled all of the like shopping lists for parents who were out of work and didn't have groceries and diapers for their children, on a referral basis. And then my best friend Nikki, who owns her own Remax company, she is like the entrepreneur from heaven above, and she and I did it together. We went out and we bought all the stuff, and then we hauled it all into my house, sorted it all, bagged it all up, and this was all in one day. And then we went out and took like multiple carloads all over this town that we lived in Connecticut, and hand delivered them to everybody. So that was another way that we like burned through that money, because like I can't stress it enough. It was never about the money. It didn't have to be. I had a job working for real estate, mortgage and insurance company that paid me plenty. So it was really just about like using art that I love so much, that did so much for me as a person and built my confidence, and and made me do all these things in life I would have never done. And I just wanted to turn around and give back just what I could, and that felt like a great way to do that.
And that's great. I feel like when you do stuff like that, you never know what it's going to inspire the person you're helping out to do as well, like who they inspire, and it just comes like into a ripple effect. And of course, that's not why you're doing it, but it's really cool to see what comes of it in terms of making an impact on people in your environment, and how well you can lift people up just by being you.
I agree. And I actually did I did a lot of fundraiser classes online, and one of them was for Jane Doe No More, which is for women who have been sexually assaulted. It's a support group for them. And when I was teaching this group, this one woman, she did an exceptional job on her painting, and she was very sweet. And I got to hear her story because they like let me kind of sit in on some of their meetings and stuff. And because like I had a lot of trauma of my own, and so I fit in well with the group, and had some to contribute, and also an ear to listen. And when I heard her story, and I remember how good of a painter she was, before I left Connecticut, I actually gifted her all of my original easels that I bought. I bought some metal ones that were a little lighter and easier for me to move, that fit in like a storage tub that I needed it to fit in to move from a 2-bed house to a 1-bedroom apartment. So I gave her all of my wooden, my classic easels. I gave her all of my suppliers information for like where I get all the supplies for cheap, how to barter those deals. And then I actually gave her all of my contacts, like at that country club and the other places where I was actually making money. And gave it to her, and I told her, I was like, people might look to you for charity work because I did a lot of it. You're not obligated to do that, but like this can change your life, like in a, from a financial landscape, perspective. And so I gifted her all of that through the person who runs the group, Jane Doe No More. And yeah, so then she got to take it over from there. So it like sorry, I feel like that made a lasting impact on her life as well. And also it made it so that like other people didn't have to be without this thing that they really liked just because I wanted to move. They didn't have to miss out. So
Yeah, a lasting impact on the community.
yeah, so the hits keep coming. So it's pretty cool. I guess like my life's not all like jokey jokes, but they definitely make it so that I don't get all weepy all the time. So that's extra balance.
I love that though, because you said you kind of just charisma your way into that position to begin with, and
Yeah.
then you end up leaving this monster that you just built.
Yeah. And
That's incredible.
I miss it, but I'm really excited to say that when I move, it's going to come back in the capacity that it was, before, that it existed in before. I've gotten hired at this place in my new town that is a huge, it's like where I work now, sort of. It's like just a huge restaurant and distillery, but it's also a wedding venue. And they have a beautiful place that they've been trying. They said to me when they reached out, they were like, listen, they only reached out because my landlord he's a half owner of this restaurant. He reached out for verification of income for my current restaurant job. And instead of my boss just saying, yes, Ham works here and makes the money she says she works, he instead gave me this like glowing review as a human being. And then, so my boss was like, hey, I know that you're just looking for a house, but would you like a job too? And I'm like, yeah. So then I show up and
Wow.
I like sign my lease and I go there, and they are like, already ready to put me on the schedule. But they said to me, they're like, we want you to bartend and serve here because we need help, but we also really want you to do paint and sip here. We've been looking for someone for a long time and haven't found anybody. And also we've been trying to hire comedians for the longest time
Oh
and we
my
don't know where to
gosh.
start. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be like your event coordinator for the fun stuff, and do, bartending and serving. So I literally just feel like I hit the lottery.
Hell
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yay, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm
Wow.
so beside myself, and it makes me feel stupid for how sad I feel about leaving. Lincoln, I've really liked Lincoln, but only for one reason, and it's because I'm obsessed with my restaurant job. It's all I talk about in my stand-up now. It's my favorite place to mine material. I work with the greatest people on earth. I swear, I don't know where this restaurant found so many incredible human beings and then got them all on the same schedule, but I am so infinitely blessed to have them in my life, and I'm gonna miss them so terribly. But like, I'm like, girl, stop being stupid, because like you're going to something great. Like, stop being weepy over a restaurant in the Midwest. Why are you like this?
And you have another big restaurant waiting for you. That's
Yeah,
incredible. That's
right.
karma
Sail
right
into new
there.
restaurant shores.
It's coming back to you. It's coming back to you,
Like a beast.
like a beast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you ever feel like because when you move to a certain place, you're trying to make it feel more homey, so you try to like build a connection, and that's why sometimes you feel a little sad leaving,
I
maybe?
think so. Like when I moved to Lincoln, I had high hopes. The comedy scene here is very, very, very small. And unfortunately, you know how comedy scenes are. There's always a lot of infighting and stuff. And so it was small and people were like trying to compete with other people with their shows. And I'm like, comedy, it doesn't compete with other comedy. Comedy competes with all other forms of entertainment. Know your enemy. You know, your enemy's not the person running an open mic on the other side of town. Your enemy is the Barbie movie, or, you know, or bowling, or, you know, like things that people want to go to, laser tag, you know, whatever. Like that's what you're competing with. You're not competing with other comedy. You want the next person's show to be just as good as yours, if not better. So that if somebody wanders off the street and hands the door person $5 and for the first time to see comedy live for the very first time, you want to make sure they fall in love with it, even if you're not on that show, so that when you are on a show, they're going to give that $5 to the door guy at your show. So I built, I actually took my Paint the Town Rad website, and because it was like a, you know, fully functioning business website, but I created a QR code that led to one specific page on the site that actually listed all of the shows going on in Lincoln and like a little bit about each comic and why they're great. And then I made business cards. I printed off like 500 business cards on Vistaprint, and I gifted them to every comic in the scene and said, hand these out, because people can scan the QR code and you can tell them I'm on these shows. You can find them here, but what they're also going to find is everyone else's shows. And then they can take it from there, you know, because if your show's doing better, then my show's going to do better. So we tried doing that. Just unfortunately, a lot of these shows have come and gone because the venues have shut down, and, you know, or comics just don't want to participate, etc., you know, whatever it is. But I always try, you know, like whatever is there, I try to shine it up and, you know, make it the best that it can be. And I try to do that with everything that I do. Like I do work with a couple of people who hate their job. Everyone on earth like is allowed to have their own opinion on their job, but I feel like I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work every time I'm scheduled. I'm like, I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait to turn on the slows. And it's because like your mindset, I think, is really half the battle. You know, like if you think that your job stinks, it's gonna. If you think that your comedy scene stinks, it's gonna. Like it, but if you think it's great, it can be. And if you love your job, it can be anything you want it to be. You know, sky's the limit. And I think that's why, you know, not to brag, but like I make a ton of money at this restaurant because like people they tip that because like I'll just say whatever to tables, and like I just I don't know, I vibe with them. And hand to God, you're welcome to look it up. If you looked up Lazo's Haymarket and you look at the reviews, sort them to the newest ones, because I've only been at that location for 6 months. I transferred a few months ago. Anytime it mentions a server being like extra or whatever, it's your girl. It's always like, hey, like one of the reviews even says ham like the lunch meat was our server. How I introduce myself. I go up to tables. I say, hey folks, how we doing tonight? My name's Ham, like the lunch meat. I'll be taking care of you this evening, so that they don't think I'm a Pam or a Sam. That's a very different energy. You know, I am a ham. And so they're going to know about it. But I'm telling you,
you are a ham.
they're into it.
That's amazing. I feel like you and Brian do so much stuff, and it's so wild because I was telling Brian this, I think when we were interviewing him, that he was doing these like brain soup or thought soup thing, and he was going through yours and his like schedule where you were working shifts, how many like hours you work a day, like just your lives and how much work you guys do. And then to hear you say, oh, and then I put in a little extra effort in making these cards to make the comedy scene, that is just amazing to me because it's so much energy. It's so much.
Yeah, ever since we got sober, I think that like when we gave up alcohol, we also gave up sleep, I feel. Like I'm sober from sleep and booze for 5 years now. Because like I just feel like I always want to be doing something. I always want to have something going on, and because I just feel like you only get one shot at this. You know, you might as well make every millisecond count. And there's definitely times where I just sit on the couch and binge watch 90 Day Fiance. I'm not going to say that I don't. But while I do that, I'm usually working on a painting, or I'm usually like, you know, I'll have like my makeup set about here and I'm like doing my eye beat for the day while it's on in the background. Like I'm always kind of doing two things at once. And so when people talk to me, it's like I have a lot of the young kids at work, they forget how old I am. Because I do I look young for a 30 something. I tend to fit in with the 20 somethings pretty decently. And so I'll be like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for this many years or this. And they're like, well, wait a minute, didn't you like, because I, worked in like the, financial services arena for 13 years. And they're like, well, wait a minute. And they like kind of get their fingers out and try to do that. I'm like, well, I was teaching during that time. Like I did that at night. And like I also bartended at night at this place. And I also, did this and this, because even when I visited our new town that we went to recently, got our house, I got that job, offered to me. But also I went into Goodwill. I was just looking for a little table for my bathroom. And so I had my mom on the phone and I'm like, just telling her about the town, driving around, whatever. And I'm like, Mom, I'm in this Goodwill, I'm looking for a table, whatever. I see the little shorty pops in there working. I'm like, hey, girly, whatever, talking to them. And when I checked out, they literally are like, you're moving here? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be living here in like 3 weeks. So, like, do you want to work here? And I'm like, maybe, cause like I just got this other job, like, maybe, I don't know. And then like we went to this other bar to set up, karaoke and trivia. And when we're sitting down with that guy, he's like, do you want to bartend here? I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of big on just being like, okay, yeah, like we'll see what happens. Sure. Like, let me see how busy I am. And if I have a night free, like I'll let you know and I'll pop over and do it. Like,
Well, you've been offered 3 jobs. You don't even live there.
yeah. Like literally, that's like my most toxic trait. Is just like, no. People are like, do you want to be besties? I'm like, okay, like sure. Like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's cool.
I like how your most toxic trait is just complete positive energy.
That's what I say. I have toxic positivity.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Do you have a couple fun stories about working in restaurants? Because I know you probably have a million.
Oh, sure. I'll try to think of one that's like not a bit yet, because like a lot of the ones I like to move into, the stand-up arena and kind of polish them up. But I have a few that are really touching. Like just so funny though. Okay, actually here, let me tell you about a time I bombed at a table that wasn't mine.
Oh,
And then
yes,
I'll tell you about a
please.
time that I could have gotten fired for something that I did, but it worked out well. And neither one of these are bits, so that feels less hack. Okay, so the time I bombed at a table, I laughed until I cried. I had brought out food to this girl's table, and it was I am known for being able to, I can out carry all the boys at work. I can carry 9 plates at the same time, like all stacked up.
Wow.
And it's my like showstopper. People love, like they get excited, they love to see it. So I bring out all this food and I'm doling it out to them. And then of course, every time there's gonna be one person who's like, actually, can I get a side of ranch? And then I have to be like, we don't have ranch. We have a house dressing called creamy garlic. It's ranch adjacent. I can bring it to you, right? So they ask for the creamy garlic. I go to the back. We're out of ramekins because our dishwasher was broken that day. So the dishwashers were washing everything by hand. And ramekins had stacked up. They were just trying to get plates clean, to get food out, and silverware clean. Those are the top priorities. So we have takeout ramekins, like disposable ones. So I put the creamy garlic in that. I still put it on an appetizer plate and I bring it over and I say to them, I say, hey, sorry, because all the ramekins I brought out in round 1 were the real ones. So I'm like, hey, sorry about the disposable ramekin. Our dishwasher's broken today. The machine, not the person. He's in great spirits, all things considered. And they did not even smile. They did not find it funny at all. It was like his name was Ken Moore and he was a broken dishwasher. Like they were like they were so upsetty spaghetti that because they didn't get it. And I couldn't get off the floor fast enough because I had to laugh. So I laughed until I cried. My manager, Spencer, was like, Ham, what is wrong? And I'm like, I can't even breathe right now. This is so funny because it's not my table. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this? So long story short, I followed up with the server whose table it was. They tipped her fat. It was fine. Like I didn't ruin their experience or anything, but they just did not get the joke. It was so funny. But then this is the time I could have gotten fired. There's one table in the restaurant that's really big that the head wait that's on staff that night gets to serve because it's bigger money. And I didn't happen to look at how, because it's a 15 top, and at that 15 top, one of the owners was sitting there, Eric Schaefer, and I didn't realize Schaefer was there because I didn't look up. I was just dropping off the first 9 plates for this 15 top, and I had someone behind me with the rest of them. So I'm just focusing on getting the food down. So there's a very, like, the world's oldest woman, a fossil sitting at C3, and I go to put her food in front of her, and she's like, what? And like turns around and she smacks this little plate that has her salsa on it, and the salsa spills on the floor. And so I'm passing out the plates and I'm like, grandma spilled some salsa. And I put them down like, hey, grandma spilled some salsa. And I put down the last bit like, grandma spilled some salsa on the floor and like whatever. And I was like, but it's okay. And I was like, I'll be right back. And I go and I grab a rag and I wipe it off, but there's a little bit on the table. And then I go, ooh, because I had already gotten rid of the rag and there's a little there. And I was like, here, we'll just put this salsa on top, the fresh one on top. Like it never happened. But then our general manager pulls me aside and she's like, Ham, I just got a text from Eric Schaefer. And she's like, did you sing about grandma spilling salsa at tablespoon? And I'm like, yes. And then she's like, well, Eric had some things to say about that. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, unfortunately for you, he thinks you're fucking hilarious. He loved it. And I was like, I didn't even notice that an owner was sitting there because I would have done that regardless. Like if somebody orders a tuna melt, I go, hot tuna with melted cheese on a muffin with nooks and crannies, you know, because it's on a English muffin. Like I don't care. Tables are typically charmed by my whimsy, but I totally could have gotten shit canned right then and there for like roasting this woman to death over the salsa. But it was like, it was just a perfect parody. I had to take the moment. I had to do it.
Oh my gosh. I bet your tables are just in stitches the whole time that you're there with them.
I'm telling you, look up the reviews. They're very telling.
I'll look them up right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I just say whatever. Like, you know, just I have like all these dumb little things locked and loaded, you know, like we sell lavaches. They're like a thin cracker crust pizza and like they have Havarti cheese on it. People are like, what comes out of the lavash? Like, well, it's not a party without Havarti. Let's start there. You know, I'm like, let's build it up. It's like all these little like snappy things. But like at the end of the day, I know that menu forwards and backwards actually do have helpful stuff to tell you, but I'm gonna package it the way I want to package it. And like we're a brewery, like we brew all of our own beers, and we have like our most popular one that's the easiest drinking is called Chaco Canyon Gold, and people are like, what's that one like? I'm like, well, Chaco Canyon Gold begs the question, what if Coors Light had a slightly better personality and a touch of honey? And they're like, I'll take it. And then they sip it and they're like, that's exactly what that tastes like. Slay. And also I've never tasted it because I don't drink, but I bartend there and I just like I gather what people say about it and I kind of compile my own reality and then that's what I tell tables. I don't know.
I like that.
Man, you were gonna rock that place in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't wait for you either. I can't wait either for you. That's so exciting.
Thanks. I'm very excited.
Hell yeah.
What an exciting new adventure. Oh man. Wow.
And a much welcomed one. I'm very excited to be just like, I mean, I know it sounds like a lot, but like I'm only like 6.5 hours away from home. Like that's a quick drive in my book. Cause when I was long distance with Brian, it was 7 hours round trip to see him and I was doing it 3 days a week. So, you know, like 6.5 in one direction. I'm like, I might not even have to stop to pee. I'm fine. Do that, you know?
Just give yourself 10 years. You'll be stopping every hour to pee.
I know. Well, when I travel with Brian, he pees like every 27 minutes. So I'm like, oh
I can relate. I can relate. Is that why you guys recently traveled separately?
You know, that's part of it.
That was
that's kind of why
video.
That was really fun though, because he kept bumping into you.
Yeah, like I would stop to get, you know, like coffee. I'm a big like caffeine addict, but also both of our cars, like we have a Fiat and a Spark. And so they're both very small. So they only hold about 8 gallons of gas. So we do kind of have to stop like pretty regularly for that. And so he was actually what we call Brian Goodbladder. He was Brian Goodbladder for the first 2 stops because he was meeting up with me because he was actually not peeing and just stopping when he needed gas. And we just so happened to pick the same gas station the first 2 times. So that was neat.
Oh my gosh. And then I really loved Brian had uploaded this really cool clip of him trying to do comedy while you were watching TV.
Oh, that was
I love that one.
I love that. I love your reaction to it.
That's like that one. He warned me that it was going to happen. Sometimes he doesn't. But he told me about that one because he wanted to make sure we didn't get flagged because of the media in the background. You know, so I have to like bump it down enough so that we don't get like Sony, you know, taking our video down. Right. But he does that a lot. Like he'll pick me up from work, because like I'll just have him drop me off because where I work is downtown where there's like right now Hamilton is in town at the Lead Center. And then there's like Pinnacle Bank Arena, which is a huge, like that's where like, you know, like the Taylor Swift type of acts are going to go, like the people who can, sell it out. And so like, it's just mayhem down there between like that theater, that arena, and then all the smaller theaters. So there's like the Rococo Theater. There's like a bunch of performance spaces, the Bourbon Theater. So like there can be 5 or 6 major events going on in town, which is why our restaurant is so busy. So I'll just have him drop me off. But when he picks me up, I will come outside, and sometimes he's already out there with a speaker. And like the other day, I come out and people are handing him $20 because he's been like crowd working people on the sidewalk and they're paying him. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And like my coworkers come out and they're tickled by it. So they'll stick around. He'll like do crowd work on them. And I'm like, oh my God, I just worked a 13-and-a-half-hour shift. I just want to go home, but this is fun. I guess I'm in. Like, let's do it. So yeah, there's absolutely never a dull moment. That's for sure.
No, never a dull moment. That's one good way to put it. Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Ham. It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a great time, and honestly really eye-opening. I didn't realize how much stuff I've got going on. I'm like, geez, I really gotta get organized and get ready to rip. Jeez,
You're like,
Louise.
I just realized that I'm tired. Do you before we get out of here, is there a few things that you want to manifest for your time in Pennsylvania, comedy wise or career wise?
Definitely. My dream in comedy. I will say this. I never ever want notoriety or fame. That's never been my thing. I want to be able to never wear a bra or makeup when I grocery shop. I'm really into that. So I don't want a lot of attention outside of the little things that I do. But what I would ideally like to see happen is I love that Brian and I both are equally booked as headliners. I think that's great. But my whole goal is like, I just want him to get all of these headlining gigs, and I just want to feature for him. I just want to be along for the ride, do my quick 20 and get out of there. I'm good with that. I'm always appreciative when people do book me to do 45 or an hour. I really, of course, am appreciative of that and won't poo-poo it by any means. But I always do insist that he features for me on those nights because I just love doing it together. So that's basically my thing is like, big fish, small pond. That's what I would like to see happen. But it would be nice to be able to go like into Pittsburgh or up into Erie and stuff and do, some of those shows with those cats and kind of get to know them. And I just really want to make, a whole bunch of new friends in that area and, see what their motivations are and kind of help them get to where they want to be. Cause I feel like I kind of am where I am comfy and where I like to be. And I'm content with that. I feel like, expectation leads to disappointment. And I just learned to never expect anything from life and just whatever comes your way, just say sure, or maybe at least, and just kind of see what happens from there. So I'm just excited to see what gets tossed my way and what I can say yes to and take it from there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You want to plug in social media?
I have no social media. That's what
No social media. That's true. Hey, so
I'm such a happy person. Yeah, definitely. But you can catch me via text anytime. Just hit me up, ask me for my number. I'm a big time texting gal. You can hit me up anytime.
Hell yeah. You can follow me at Funky Sam Medina across the board.
And I'm at She Shines For You, all spelled out, no numbers.
And everything else is at Hypothetical Comedy. Awesome, Ham. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.